Hello. My name is Rivkah. Rivkah in Hebrew it's Rebecca. And I was born in Romania 67 years ago. But by the Lord's grace, I was born again in 1962. My family was a Jewish family, traditional Jewish family in Romania. And I knew the Jewish tradition, but I didn't know the Bible. I didn't, because in Romania it was a communist regime at that time. So at school, of course, they didn't taught us religion, but the communist theory and all the other things. And at home, I knew the Jewish tradition, but I didn't know the history of my people. I didn't know the Bible. And one day, when I was in a sanatorium because of my handicap, I had poliomyelitis at 1.5, when I was 1.5 years. And then I had to go to a sanatorium to have some treatment for my handicap. And the Lord provided that I was in the same room with a Gentile girl. And I didn't know by then what means to be believer, what means to be born again, nothing, I didn't know. But she knew that I am Jewish, so she didn't dare talk to me about the Lord Jesus. She only gave me some hints, but I couldn't do anything with the hints she gave me. And afterwards, she received a visit of some young people from Bucharest. She was from Bucharest. And they came, and she only recommended me as being the girl that is in the same room with her. And she said they are my friends, but I didn't know then that they were also from the assembly, that they are believers and all that. And then I had to go back to my hometown because I was studying there. And she stayed more in that sanatorium. But in the winter of 62, she came back to her home, and she invited me to spend the winter holidays with her. And it was 31st of December 62. It was New Year's Eve, and I thought they are going to celebrate that as in the world. I thought they are going to dance, they are going to drink, they are going to be merry and all that. I didn't know anything about faith. And to my big surprise, I saw that they do something else. They didn't drink wine, they didn't smoke, they read the Bible, they preached the word, and they were very, very happy, but not in the worldly way. So I didn't know what to do with that. I heard also that they were singing about the Lord Jesus and their hymns and all that. And after everything was finished, my friend, Adriana, she was called, she actually passed away on 13th of April 2011, unfortunately, but she went to the Lord, so she's all right. And she asked me, what do I think about what I saw there? So I said, well, what by example, what do you mean? And she said, well, that we are calling each other brother or sister. So I said, well, I thought that's what you are doing here in this part of Bucharest. Well, actually I was lying, because I saw that many people came from villages around. So I thought maybe because they are farmers or something and not people from the town, maybe that's why they are calling each other brother or sister. But I was ashamed to tell her that, so I lied. And then she asked, and that we are talking about the Lord Jesus Christ. And I said, well, I thought that's because you are not Jewish. And she asked me, do you believe in God? So I said, well, I believe that there is a God. And said, do you pray to him? So I said, well, sometimes when I have toothache, I am asking, oh, God, please help me. That was prayer for me. Anyway, afterwards, the next evening, her parents came to pray in our room where I was with her. And they prayed. And then I started to pray again, but I think it was a hypocrite prayer because it was more for their ears than for God's ears, because I didn't know anything yet. But afterwards, a Messianic Jew came. His name was Isidore Luria. So he started to talk to me about Israel, about the Jewish people, and about the Lord Jesus Christ and all that. And afterwards I said, well, you want to convince me that that's true, that there is paradise and that there is hell and all that. But afterwards I went to a meeting as well with them, and I started to believe, but it was something very, very simple, not enough, but still it was a start. And I wanted a Bible, but I couldn't have, because in that time it was very difficult to get a Bible in Romania. And somebody had a New Testament, but it was for sale. And I didn't have money of my own. I was living with my parents, didn't have income from my own, so I couldn't. And then I have to go back to school in my own town. And I didn't know where there are the believers in my town. But one of the young people there in Bucharest said that there is a certain family called Barbu, and they have a girl, a daughter, that must be of my age, because he was friendly with her brother. That's why he knows, that young man from Bucharest, that's how he knows that there is this family in my own town in Romania. And that's all I knew. So I went to my town, I went to school, and I knew that in a parallel class there is a girl, family name being Barbu, and I thought maybe it's this one. And I wanted to go to see her, but I asked the girl that was sitting with me in the same bench at school in class to come with me there. And she came with me, and her name was Sephora. And always this name seemed to be strange, but I didn't know by then that Sephora in Romanian is Zipporah, Tzipora, the wife of Moses. I didn't know. And I went with her to the other girl, and I asked the other girl if she has brothers or sisters. She said, no, I am the only daughter. So I knew that it's not the one I am looking for. But coming back to my class, I asked this girl, Sephora, God brought to my mind that something is special with this girl. Why? Because one, being communist, it's not fashionable to be religious. So I remember that they wanted to make fun of her, that in Sundays, when they have to do at school voluntary work, she didn't come because she's religious or something. So the Lord brought that to my mind, and I asked her, Sephora, tell me, do you have at home a Bible? She said, yes. I said, did you have hymn books as well? Because in Romania, the believers used to have hymn books at home as well. They didn't have the liberty to go to the meetings always, so sometimes they were making some small meetings at home, so they did have. So she said yes. So I was so happy. The girl that was sitting with me in the same bench, she knew all about the faith. Why I'm saying she knew all about the faith? Because she wasn't a believer, but she was from a believing family. The parents were believer. They had 10 children, and this Sephora was the youngest. But of course, she knows what the assembly means, she knows what meetings are, and I asked her to take me to a meeting, to the assembly, and it was very, very, very nice. Afterwards, I discovered another girl, believing girl, in the same school, and she used to bring me verses from the Bible written, because she didn't have a Bible for me, but that was I was feeding on. Anyway, what the Lord did, they demolished our house, because it was belonging to the state and not ours, and they gave us another house just next that Barbu family, the believers that I was looking for their daughter. So here they are next to our house. So then I met them, and but meanwhile my parents noticed that something has happened to me, that I was changed. And when I came from Bucharest, I didn't have a Bible, but I had brochures with the Gospel of John, only the Gospel of John. So I was reading that, and I knew, I think, 10 chapters by memory, because that was all I had. Anyway, my parents caught me with those brochures, so they threw them away, and they understood that something is wrong with me, because when I came, I told them that this family repented and they are believers, so didn't do anything to them. But when they saw that I am changed, they started to check on me. They started to check the letters that I wrote to the girl in Bucharest, Adriana, the believer, and all that. So it was very, very bad. Anyway, on a Saturday, because Sunday, the meetings are in Sunday morning. So it was not studies at school in Sundays. I went. When my mother was not at home, I went to this family to read a little bit from the Bible at least. And they were preparing to go to the meeting, and I wanted to go with them, but I was afraid, so I came back. But when I came back home, my mother came, and she knew where I was, and she started beating me. Anyway, that is only a little example of the things that a believer Jew has to go through, because the family doesn't understand, and it's quite normal that they don't understand, but it's a long story, so I'm not going to tell the whole story, but it was very difficult that I didn't have the possibility to go to meetings. And then we wanted to emigrate to Israel, so my parents made all the the formulas and all think that we want to go to Israel, but we had to wait 6 years before we got the permission to go to Israel. But eventually the permission came, so I came to Israel, and my parents thought, oh, that's nice, all this rubbish will disappear, she will be in Israel, and everybody is Jewish there, they don't believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, so it's going to be all right. So the Lord is everywhere, especially in Israel. So he made many, many miracles until he kept me on the way. But I had to go to a school to study Hebrew, so I had to leave the parents' home. So I was there in this, it was in Haifa, this school, and it was an internal school. and I memorized only one address of a couple from Jewish believers that came from Romania, and they were living in Israel. So I wrote to this couple, and I said that I am in near to Haifa, and they asked a Jewish believer from Haifa, to come and see me, to visit me at this school. And she took me to the assembly in Haifa, and then in 29th of August, 64, I was baptized. And in that time, it was a Saturday, and I was baptized in the Sea of Galilee at Tiberias. And because it was a public shore, many people were there to swim and all that, so it was a journalist from a very serious journal in Israel, and he wrote an article. I have the copy until now, and in that article it was written that the Messianic Jews are about 250. So in 64 it was 250. And thank God now we are between 7,000, 10,000, I believe. Now I don't know all the believers in Israel, and I'm very glad about that, because in that time I nearly knew all the believers. And thank God the Lord was very, very faithful. I wasn't so faithful, but He held my hand, and until now I still with Him, and that will be forever. And thank God I belong to a good assembly, and I am waiting for His coming.